Hello everyone, I'm the Weather Dude, welcome back, and today we're talking about the tropics. I didn't think we would still be talking about this kind of tropical activity middle to end of November, but yes, we're talking about maybe one, possibly two potential tropical cyclones. So without further ado, let's get into it. Stay tuned for the whole video and enjoy. If you'd like staying up to date with the latest weather forecasts and updates, then please consider hitting the subscribe button below. Let's see how fast we can get to 2,000 subscribers. Also, to help this video's performance very much, please consider clicking the like button and sharing this video with your friends. Also, please consider watching the whole video. Thank you. Now let's get on with today's video. Yes, so we are talking about more tropical activity. Now, if you were to go on National Hurricane Center's website, which I actually will do, I actually thought I had pulled that up, you can actually see that there is technically only one disturbance, the other one they have canceled, but there could be something forming out of that still, or maybe something after that. But this is the one that has the highest chance as of now, has a 20% chance in the next 5 days for development. The one down in the Caribbean was actually up to like a 40% chance to get a point, and it started going down again. Now it's at 0. But some could form still in this general area, and I will explain why in just a second with the first map that I'll be showing you. So this is like the setup of it all right here. And this is why I really like this map. I don't show it very often. You can see there's a front. It is draping here. We have a big high pressure behind it. Now it's starting to move to the east a bit, so maybe some warmer air trying to filter through the eastern United States. I will start to see that, even though it was a pretty cold day today, all right, in the east here. But what I want you to pay attention to is the red and the blue that's mixed, and that's the stalled front, which means this tail end of the front will stay pretty much like stalled, while this end will tend to be moving a little bit faster. Also notice all these black lines represent tropical waves. According to this, there's 3, and there's a 4th one way back here, but that's not really relevant. You can see all this cloud cover, all the concentrated cloudiness, and see, like the more gray the clouds are, like the grayer, the darker color, it's not as concentrated with the clouds, but like the whiter colors, that's more concentrated cloudiness. And when you see all these tropical waves moving this way, and remember when that stalled front is there, you know how tropical systems can spawn along these fronts or just to the south of them. So some could still develop in the Caribbean. Now until that front goes away, I definitely think there's a chance that some could still form in the Caribbean, as well as something along this front back here that I was talking about from the National Hurricane Center as well, which is this right here, kind of like near Bermuda. And let's look at the ensemble-based probabilities. We got the FNMOC, the GEM, and the European model. When you a combination of 3 of these models does show a decent chance, maybe they're actually calling for 70 to 80% chance of development of something down in the Caribbean. I don't think the chances are that high by any means. I would put it more so at 20 to 30 myself. And then for the other system, I actually forgot to show that one. The other system, they give about a 30% chance of development, which is a bit more reasonable in my opinion. Here's this is the same map, except this time we took out the European model and we took a look at the FNMOC and the GEM model. All right. The probability went up for this one. This one looks like orange means 40 to up to 50% chance of development, and same with this. So when you take out the European model, both these turn the 50% chance of development. Not this one used to say 30, this one used to say 80. All right, so now there's a bit of a change, but still, both medium development chances for both systems. I definitely think, and who knows, it may not, this area like that X you see on the National Hurricane Center, that might not be able to develop. Some could develop a week or 2 weeks from now. All right, but until that front goes away, you know, it's always going to be bothering me. I think something could start to get going in the Caribbean. At the very least, at least a low pressure might spawn in. And with the kind of season we had, even a tiny little low pressure can be destructive. All right, you've seen what, I mean, look at the 2 category 4. One was actually near a Cat 5, I would say. They hit Central America, Eta and Iota. All right, 2 very unique storms. And when we look at the activity for this time of year, again, November 19th pretty much just passed like that November 10th-ish mark. Actually, let me change the color. Here we go. So now you can kind of see we just passed this. So climatologically, when you look at the red, that represents your tropical storms, right? Hurricanes and tropical storms, but the yellow focuses more on the hurricanes. This focuses more on tropical storms. Don't necessarily focus on the numbers over here. Just focus on the date and like how does the graph act, right? There's actually climatologically, there's a tiny little spike right before like November 9th-ish. All right. There are these little spikes. The peak is September 10th. Does that mean there are always going to be like 10 tropical systems on September 10th? No. Climatologically, that is the peak day. All right, September 10th. Then there's usually a drop. There's a little spike toward October. There's a drop and a little spike in mid-November, and after like November 8th or 9th, it trails down again. So we're like kind of like right here at this point. So we're really pretty far low, and we've seen a lot of activity. All right, and remember, October we can see a lot of stuff as well, a lot of tropical development. So that didn't shock me too much, even though the season overall really did shock me. I'm thinking hopefully whenever the season does end, I'm thinking maybe making like a recap video of this season, like a recap of the 2020 hurricane season, going over all the storms. I think that'd be a pretty fun video, but we'll see like whenever the tropical activity finally dies down. All right, so we got the tropical intensity index right here. All right, and you see in the Caribbean highly favorable development conditions, although they don't put so much favorable conditions where the other system is. We'll call this System 1 by Bermuda, and we'll call this one System 2 down here. So System 1 doesn't have too good of a development chance, according to this map. Of course, it does still have a good probability. All right, and when we look at the cyclonic vorticity signature, look at it. Look at over the east with those dark blues. That's like nothing. That's like negative cyclonic vorticity, which I didn't think that was possible. All right, and then you got some energy hanging out here in the Caribbean. We have some energy that's like System 1, and then we got System 2 kind of hanging out down there in the Caribbean. Both have a good medium amount of energy. Nothing significant is growing out of these systems yet. And I know that, again, for the Caribbean system, I know the National Hurricane Center has dropped its chances, but I know it's kind of lost its faith in it. But again, like I said, with the kind of season it's been, definitely I'm putting it out there that definitely could still develop. And as you saw in the community tab, still 2 potential tropical storms. Now, dry air is something pretty interesting. For the System 2, the Caribbean system, there's no dry air. Like the Caribbean has like really lost its dry air, which is good, obviously, for developing systems. Definitely a lot of tropical action over here. If that moves a bit farther north enough and goes like north to South America, that could be that's like a big tropical wave as well. But that might go into South America. That might be too far south. But the other system, System 1, that's closer to Bermuda, if it develops, I think that it's going to be more so subtropical. Just because of the dry air that you see, and it's kind of like stuck in between two. It's kind of like stuck in between 2 masses of dry air, and you know that's not an ideal development for tropical systems. Of course, it can still be subtropical, but not maybe fully tropical. Also, another reason for that is the cyclone heat potential up by Bermuda is really next to nothing. Like you see, like this tealish color, that's like low. All right, but when you see like the where it looks more like the ocean, like all this, that means like no tropical cyclone heat really. Most of that has been suppressed. It's suppressing farther south now because it's getting colder. And still, most of tropical cyclonic heat energy is all in the Caribbean, as it usually is. But even that's starting to wear down as well. Another reason I believe that this will become a subtropical system as opposed to the tropical system, again, we're talking about the first system up here. Because look at the shear right now. Right now, we're talking about shear between 40 to 60 knots, and that's really just not ideal for development. If the wind shear was like 30, 40 knots and the waters were really warm and like super warm and there was no dry air whatsoever, and maybe when it had a chance, but when you got cooler waters, less heat content, some dry air, and wind shear, all those things just knock down the chances even further. As for the Caribbean, shear is starting to build there as well, which is why I think the shear is going to be the biggest problem for both of these systems. But again, shear, even if the shear is moderately high, it can still be subtropical, meaning it's like a half low pressure system and a half tropical system. It can form in cooler waters with higher shear, but obviously the shear can't be too high or there will be no system really at all. So let's take a look at those Sst anomalies though. And that's the thing, even though there's not much heat content below the ocean surface, the sea surface temperature anomalies are pretty far above average. I say as much as 2 Celsius. All right, at least where for the first system is. For the Caribbean, about 1-ish degrees Celsius above average, which is still pretty good. And when you look at the sea surface temperatures themselves, again, all those oranges and darker oranges are obviously in the Caribbean, where sea surface temperatures are greater than 80, probably around 82-ish. Obviously, nowhere near where we saw September, where it was like 88, right, or something pretty close to 87. As for the other system, though, you don't the water temperature is below 25 Celsius, which at that rate usually means we will see a subtropical system form. If anything does emerge out of these two, I definitely think subtropical will be the main. Would probably be the best bet here, except for the Caribbean system. That The only reason the Caribbean system might be actually tropical is because, again, there's a lot of heat content in the Caribbean, and it's hard to get a subtropical system down there. But something farther north, like where our first system is, that'll probably be subtropical. All right, so Caribbean, in terms of the shear, it's up and down, but overall, we're hovering near that black line, which is where we should be for wind shear this time of year. But you can see the general trend after all the ups and downs, but the trend is up. Not just by the black line, but you can see the blue lines do actually like trend up themselves as well. Like you can see the bottom points of all these blue lines are right here, as opposed to before it was down here a little bit. So we're definitely starting to see shear go up, completely normal, but still, something subtropical could still develop out of these systems. Now that was the Caribbean. Now we're going to talk about the tropical Atlantic because, yeah, shear has been trending up a lot there recently. And we're talking tropical, by tropical Atlantic, I mean like the Eastern Atlantic, like where the MDR is, where storms come off of Africa a couple months ago. That's kind of the region I'm talking about. You can see like between June and October, shear was actually pretty good. Actually, October, there's a lot of below average shear. Even though climatologically nothing forms out there too much once we get to October. Once it gets to October, usually, especially late October, like with Sandy, for example, we start to see activity closer to home again, just like in May and June. But now, shear went from below average in October to like kind of going a bit above average now for November. So we kind of like flipped the switch completely here for the tropical Atlantic. So really that just reduces the chance of seeing any development out in that region. It just reduces the chance of that even more. Although, like I said, we're definitely going to have to pay a lot of attention to that big tropical wave that's forming in the tropical Atlantic, because I definitely think something could come out of that. All right, and then we got kind of like, again, we have that front where something could spawn off of that. We got a lot of activity in the Caribbean. All right, I don't know why it's doing that loading thing. And then we got, again, with the front here with all the cloud cover activity, and something could try and, like, we're calling it like an area to watch. But there is a lot of dry air, so we have to keep that in mind, as well as shear. Now, what do the models think? Again, it's a bit early to tell. As you saw, like if you were to go to National Hurricane Center, you guys see how the development chance within 2 days is 0% and the chance for 5 days is 20%. Well, that means this system may not even develop until Monday or Tuesday of next week. So it's still a bit early. When you see the formation chance for 48 hours is nothing, that means this will probably not develop over the weekend, if it does at all. And you can just see, even the National Hurricane Center says subtropical characteristics most likely middle of next week. So they're talking like Tuesday, Wednesday time frame. All right, so this could take a few days to develop. It might take 5 days, 7 days, but the chance for 2 days or less is 0% as of now. The system could get steered a little bit farther west because of a high to the north, so keep that in mind. And also with that stalled front, this will help to break the system off of the existing front that you see right here. But just like all the other ones, it's going to kind of like be like, it's going to hop on the bandwagon, so to speak. And it's eventually going to move north along with the front. Even though it's completely detached with the front, it's going to kind of like follow its footsteps a little bit. And there's a system right there. Again, by the way, I could just tell by the way it looks here, it definitely looks like subtropical characteristics. And maybe something could get together. Something can form this far north. All right, you guys remember I said, I think, one of my recent videos, I think, Hurricane Alex in 2016 formed in January. All right, and 2016 was actually weird because that was a pretty quiet year except for Matthew, and I believe one other storm. But 2016 was overall a quiet year in my opinion. There were definitely a few banger storm systems that were pretty bad, but compared to the last like few years, like 19 was a bad hurricane season, 18, 17. You know, we've been like on a streak now, like 20 years, 2020. All right, but something could form this far north in November. If it can do it in January, it can do it in November, in my opinion, especially considering, again, how this season has been. Now we got these surface pressure, like the surface winds. Again, I think this will definitely have the wind capacity, but the question is it organized enough to be a tropical storm? Is it even organized enough to be a subtropical storm? Right? It still has to act, you know, I mean, we do see tropical characteristics form by 2 a.m. Tuesday, but the question is it too far north? Are the waters too cold for even a subtropical storm to develop? That is yet to be determined. All right, hopefully we'll get some updates here. As for the cyclonic vorticity signature, all right, we're going to be focusing on mainly the first system now, the Caribbean system. The models don't really hint at yet. And if the Caribbean system were to develop, we're going to have to wait several more days for that as well. All right, you can kind of see, let me pull up right about here. You can kind of see something is definitely trying to develop there in the Atlantic. All right, like right, you can see like, and also moisture from the northeast might actually combine with that, so that might actually help it. But the moisture from the northeast may not get to it in time. We'll kind of see how that goes. Here's a gem model. Actually, I don't know why there we go. All right, so here's a gem model. Again, with that high pressure backing off to the east, all right, that's going to allow this system to kind of like extract to the north and east. If that high stayed there, this system may have followed the cold front out to sea, but it probably would have gotten steered farther west. So kind of be thankful that high is moving away, right? And also, I'm sure people in the east don't want it to get cold, even though it probably will be getting cold pretty soon. Like this morning here in the east, actually, we woke up to like 24 degrees Fahrenheit. So one of the more colder mornings we've seen so far this year. Haven't seen something that cold yet. But anyway, here's a gem model, and they definitely have like a little closed circulation. All right, developing. It may not be too strong, may not even be a tropical storm. There's some following that as well, but a closed low circulation. You know how you can tell? If you look closely, that little circle right there is a closed low, and you got rain to the northeast of it. Definitely looks like some kind of low pressure, to say the least. All right, and with the gem model, with the wind strength, we'll see how strong, all right, do they make the wind. So doesn't look like anywhere near tropical storm status. All right, let's take a deeper look here. See, I like the GFS because they're more of like a full resolution, high resolution wind graphic. This one is a bit less. They tend to go, let's put it this way, they have a little bit of a bias on the winds that tend to make them less. But we're still going to look at the gem model because all the models are very important to look at. And you can see right there, you can barely see it, but smidges of green, like right there, there's a little smidge of green. You'll actually be able to see it better if I advance 6 more hours. There we go. Now at this point, just like the GFS, 2 a.m. Tuesday, I don't know why it's blurry like that. All right, that's kind of like part of the map. All right, there we go, that's better. But at this point, it's all the way in like past Nova Scotia into like Newfoundland. So at this point, it's way like, and that's part of like another low, and that's not even over water. So definitely way too far north at that point. All right, and again, cyclonic vorticity signature. Again, something similar. We can see something combined with moisture from the northeast. It's definitely a possibility, but not a likelihood. And even if it were to, you know, the low, even if it were to combine with moisture from the northeast, that separate low could track over land through New England, through Nova Scotia. It may not even come back over water. So, but that's just combined with another system. When you talk about this system itself, though my chances aren't looking too good, but something could spin up. Again, I know it's November, but with the way the season has been, we smashed 2005. We just had our 30th named storm. Maybe 31, maybe 32. Definitely something we're going to have to watch. Like, I don't even know what the next name on the alphabet is. Hopefully we won't have to see another name on the alphabet, but definitely something we have to keep watching very closely. So that was the European model I just saw right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm the Weather Dude, signing off. Till next time, I will catch you guys in the next video.